Okay guys, I'm not a big fan of using my iPhone to record because the sound is on and off, on and off, on and off, and I really don't know what's going on there. I will try my best to magnify the sound as loud as possible, so in parts where I'm quieter or the sound is lower, you still can comprehend the overall scent. I have to get this out of the way. It's already almost 10 p.m. at night and my computer is super slow. It's got issues and the content is transferring from that phone, which just ran out of space, by the way. That's why I moved over to my iPhone over like some very long time, and I'm not gonna wait for it to finish. Plus it's up on my tongue and I believe I'm almost done, so I'm gonna finish the rest of this message on my iPhone, and my hope is that I'm comprehensible. I really hope so, even though, you know, in and out, in and out, in and out with sound quality. That caveat out there, my iPhone, however, unlike the Android, at least does not have speech lag. So I guess we work with what we have, you guys. I was bending the dream to you. I was cut at the part where I begin about what the baby meant, what that dream was. First of all, Maggie was used, Maggie from The Walking Dead, because of what she eventually became, albeit having started out quite sweet. Her husband had passed away in The Walking Dead. Baby, after the husband passed away, raised it by herself. They want me to be a single mom, and they were literally trying to like drill into the fact that I am desirous of having, and time is ticking, so they just want me to go and grab some random person on the street and make him my baby daddy. a baby daddy of which is going to be like a dead man, just a dude that does not know anything about Jesus. This megalomaniacal, heavily controlling guy that rocked up with the contact lenses that caused the baby to morph into something bionic, some mix, whatever, represented generational curses. What happens when a righteous man or a righteous woman comes together with a man or a woman in creating a baby that is especially involved in the occult? Y'all who are involved in sorcery, you don't know what you're doing. I had a cousin who, being very heavily pregnant, was practicing witchcraft. You don't know what you're doing to children. The Lord has told me that people who practice sorcery while pregnant, they are the tantamount of the babies when they get born. They're the tantamount of what do they call those babies? Crack babies. Yes, the Lord calls children, babies, kids that are born to parents that are very heavily satanic, that are involved in the occult, that keep on doing rituals over their kids, or kids that are born because of satanic ritual. So they have sought fertility through these spiritists. He compares them to crack babies. What is a crack baby? A crack baby is a baby who was born to a mother that was basically taking crack, and so the baby is born with either developmental issues or an addiction. When I was in primary school, there was this guy that came that had throat cancer. He was in remission throat. They had removed a portion of him and he had to use something in order to speak, and his voice came out very funny. He was there to warn us to not even start smoking, right? Because that's what smoking did to him. He had become a motivational speaker against smoking. In one of the stories that he covered, that to demotivate us as kids to even starting smoking, was of a baby whose mother was smoking all throughout pregnancy, and this baby, upon being born, was always crying, very colicky, having issues, until one day the baby started eating ashes from an ashtray. Basically the baby was born addicted. They had to create cigarettes for this baby to regulate her, and she grew up smoking cigarettes. Essentially she was addicted to cigarettes from birth. That would be the tantamount of a crack baby or a cigarette baby. Babies that are subjugated to the tyranny of their parents' irresponsibility while in their mama's wombs. Well, according to God, performing occult rituals while you don't even have to be heavily pregnant, engaging yourself in occult activity while pregnant, is the tantamount of smoking while pregnant, according to God, or taking crack or any other kind of drug that would cause your baby to be born addicted to that drug, to have developmental issues because of that drug, as much as affliction of babies in mama's wombs because of a physical thing that they're doing. Is important to announce to the world that parents might avoid this. So too is it important, according to God, to announce to pregnant mothers or those planning to have babies the imperativeness of avoiding the occult. Period. You shouldn't be doing it, but especially when you are pregnant. So I don't know what in the world happened to my cousin's babies. Now, if a crack baby gets born either a crack or has developmental issues, or a cigarette baby is born addicted to cigarettes or has developmental issues, what then would be the tantamount of that in spiritual terms? A baby born with a spiritual addiction to the darkness that their mother was practicing. Like amasangoma, you are women, and you have got husbands, and you keep on working, practicing in the middle of your pregnancies. You might as well be schnoffing lines of cocaine with that baby in the stomach, in the spiritual sense. The ramifications are often only recognized or discovered much later in the kids' lives. They are erratic, or they very stubborn. If at all their parents turn to Christ, struggle a lot more. They are rebel side. They in and of themselves eventually end up engaging in sorcery. It's more than just generational curses. It's stronger than generational curses. When you do a ritual while you are pregnant, it's worse, because a generational curse is something that a mother carries because her grandmother and a mother's were doing strange things. So she's taking her forefathers' issues. But when you are doing a ritual in the middle of pregnancy, you are bringing even entities that are not in your generational line into this baby, because they're hovering around in the environment. Whatever it is that the witch doctor is spurring, conjuring up, the weakness of the fetus inside you is capitalized on, pounced on by the devil. Satan he adores babies, the innocence of babies. If he can take them young, he grabs them with might. Do you understand? If he can destroy them young, he grabs them with might. That's why he's coming up against kids, forcing them what is the word that I'm looking for, transition and what have you, before they can even make up their own minds. He is confusing the living daylights out of kids, because that is the future generation. If you can get to them young, because they're impressionable, it is highly unlikely that they're going to, or it's going to make it very difficult for them to do a better or a different thing in the future. Scar them young and easily calamitize the future society. So all of these extra demons in an environment like a sangoma's hut, guys, yes, sangoma, they deal with so many spirits on the daily. They first of all deal with the spirits of their clients, the wicked spirits in their clients, and then they deal with the spirits that are just drawn to the satanic environment, whether or not they see them. And then there are other spirits that people come with for them to deal with, and sometimes these spirits land in an environment and feel like this one is a lot more habitable for me to be in. I'm not going, I'm not leaving. So they let the person go, but the spirit stays. So you don't know, when you enter into the premises of Isangoma, what entities are hovering around there and in what numbers. You can literally get a legion coming into the belly of a woman, entering the baby, even though they have left the mother alone. They don't care for the mother, they want the kid, to basically chart the course of the destiny of this child's life before it can even say, I want to be a teacher, I want to be a doctor, I want to be an athlete. They decide a destiny that, and what opens a door for them to enter in is when the mother allows this ritual to commence. So you can't just walk past, like, you know, in downtown Joburg there's a lot of these sangoma premises. You can't just walk past one such premise innocently as a pregnant woman about to go and take a taxi at Bree taxi rank, and then have these demons come into your child. You have got to be parting willingly in a ritual. There are rules. Demons can't just do what they want. The Lord has given them specific instructions as to how to operate with the human race. Metaphysical entities are not allowed to enter into our space unless we conjure them up. Like, for instance, if we're using a Ouija board, then on that day we're inviting them and we're killing ourselves and shooting ourselves in the foot. So a passerby cannot just get demon possessed because demons are operating in a particular environment. They might feel a cold shiver, but that's it, right? However, a mother that is basically giving permissions, the Lord has given us a dominion over the animals, and as men and women who have children, he initially gives us headship over these kids. We get to make decisions on their behalf. The headship of your husband is spiritual. The headship of parents over kids is spiritual. So therefore, when you sign a consent form to basically deal with entities while you are with child, you might as well be giving spiritual authority to the devil over your baby. Yo, guys, Yazzie. God have mercy. Anyway, whatever. Right, so in this dream, right, this baby that was morphing like this, the Lord was showing me what would happen when you as a believer allow yourself first and foremost to get unequally yoked with an unbeliever. What also happens when you have sex outside of marriage. The covenant of marriage is heavily protective of babies that get born in that space, and even the couples each. It's almost as if though God's shielding hand over the honesty of this union. You know, when they say make an honest out of me, an honest woman out of me, when women say that, they're basically saying a man has made out of me one that is under the shelter of God. And I don't know if you guys can pick it up, but when women are married, there is a shadow that automatically just rises over them because of the fact that they are now married. It's very different just dating, and I don't know why people who are dating think it's different. Think it's the same thing. It's not. Like cohabitation, when you live with your husband in the same house, there is a lot more security in the future there than when you are busy living with your boyfriend. It's clear. You can feel it yourself. You don't even have to be super spiritual. It's tangible. I used to live with my ex-boyfriend. I know I felt out of place. I don't think that would be the same case with a married couple. Anyway, whatever. So the covenant that you make with God when you enter into marriage also protects the baby. But when you just like lay the baby prostrate before the devil by allowing unequal yoking, fornicating, and sex outside of marriage, there are so many other contracts that are entered into their spiritual that also put in harm's way the baby. The Lord literally used the word crack baby to describe kids that are created in compromised states because of the irresponsibility of the parents. I'm so grateful I never had a baby before coming to Christ, guys, because all of these things, now that I know them, make me realize just how irresponsible we can be in the interest of love, in the interest of I just want a baby. Why don't we just go and we produce human beings that we set up for failure before literally it is over before it starts. Moving on right ahead. The grace of God is amazing though. These kids can be redeemed, but it tends to be harder. It is clear that an environment plays a massive role in whether or not a child will come to the Lord, guys. It literally makes a big, fat, chunky role, a huge role. First of all, godly parents make a massive impact in their children's life and in their godliness, their example as they live it out in front of their kids. Again, massive example. And not only that, the security of a healed family causes these kids to value family values that the society is starting to just disregard as important. And kids like those are in short supply these days because of all of the couples all across the planet that are busy cohabiting and having kids outside of wedlock. They are ripping away at the vision of marriage that's so productive children. What does that mean for the future? Anyway, well, for the future of these kids. Anyway, so going back to the spiritual ramifications, what happened to this baby? The baby was born to a mom, right? That was very angry. So yeah, I told you Maggie's situation. This baby was given contact lenses. Why contact lenses? It's almost as if though something was shoved down this baby's throat by mere virtue of unequal yoking, to see the world differently from the way that it ought to see. So the baby was born naturally with blue eyes, could see through their own eyes, but this guy saw it fit put another set of blue eyes on top of baby, and it changed the baby. It's deception. It is a worm, a stealthy, pernicious entry into a person's life to tweak the gospel or tweak their understanding of the world, tweak how it is that they see, and make it look as if though no, it's still the same. The contact lenses were blue, the baby's eyes were blue, but as soon as the kid wore these unnecessary contact, the child became half breed of some sort. The mother was responsible for this. This baby did not have it coming. The mother, Maggie, was the one that put the contact lens on the baby. She accepted them from this demon guy and she put them on the baby, meaning that this kid literally had no other choice but to be converted into something demonic for the kingdom of darkness. Do you seriously think God is going to allow innocent babies to be subjugated to the prowling wickedness of their parents? They're the ones that have made a choice to worship Satan. You don't get to drag a child along into that mud. I personally was rescued very irresponsible parents. I came to Christ. I gave my life to him despite them having nothing to do with it. The Lord knows how to rescue babies that are just being set apart for failure. Look at what he did with Moses. He will take you, put you in a basket, raise you in Pharaoh's household, and later use you powerfully to take his people out of the land of slavery. God knows how to rescue his babies. He even did it with his own son Jesus. He knows how to rescue kids from an irresponsible society, from irresponsible parents, from an irresponsible ecosystem that is choosing hell for them before they can even make their own decisions. Wow. Anyway, this baby had these contact lenses put in and it automatically morphed. I believe what that was speaking of is what would be the ramifications or the consequences of unequal yoking. What would be the consequences of unequal yoking? First of all, sex outside of marriage. So if I were to accept that, look, my husband is dead, ain't nobody coming for me, but I'm broody, I want a baby, I'm godly. If you mix together with a man that's not of God, that is a deliberate breaking of a covenant you have with God. The Lord said, do not be unequally yoked with unbelievers. When you go on right ahead as a believer and unequally yoke yourself with a Christian, with a non-Christian, you are breaking a law you know exists. You are not ignorant on that day. You are without excuse, therefore, to do such a thing as that. That deliberate disobedience is a presumptuous sin, and that disobedience gives greater agency to the devil to do what he wants, because devils can't just dilly-dally around doing what they want to do, but Christian compromise sometimes gives them a lodging in our ecosystems. So the ramifications, the damage, the devastation to a Christian being unequally yoked is far heartier than a world couple out of marriage and the girl falling because you knew better. It's like what God says in his word in warning those people who are close to the light. He says that he who has been given much, much will be expected from them. You will be beaten with many stripes if you were close to the light and did not respond. But if you did not know what you were doing, you will be beaten with less stripes. So people in the world, when it comes to this irresponsible activity that they're walking in with their babies, which is having kids all over the show like it's Smarties coming out of the sky, if they repent, and again, even in their state, God beats them with lesser stripes because they don't know any better. But when you are just sick and tired of waiting on the Lord, it's been a minute, and you're exhausted with solitude, but I wanted to say singlehood. When you are basically bored, like I'm 38, when your age is making you uncomfortable because you should be married by now, and then you decide that any random dude that is good enough that comes and shellas you, proposes marriage to you or wants to be with you, is hollering at you, you can tell that he's not born again because you have studied the scriptures, you know how to figure out if somebody is saved in the Lord. Done test on yourself. His conversation is not flowing rivers of living water, but he's just professing Christ because he likes you enough, and you accommodate this guy. You just take him in your stride despite all the apprehension you have, despite all the warnings you have, and no matter how many times God slaps him out the way, continue to let him come back in, or you even go out of your way to get him back. You've desperate to get married because now you're almost 40 like Arau. If you do that, you are deliberately chipping away at the covenant that you've created with God, and you are opening some kind of a portal, a hole for enter and while you're born again. And so the level of damage that devils can do to you is limited. Your child ain't born again yet. Everybody gotta do their own run to Christ. Everybody has to make their own decision. Your kid does not inherit your salvation. So that just lays your child prostrate before all different kinds of random activity. It is so irresponsible. So if a true child of God decides to disregard God anyway and marries an unbeliever, yeah, your marriage is going to be tumultuous. There's going to be wars all over the show. You're going to hate the living daylights out of each other eventually. This guy is going to be used as an agent in the matrix against you. He will manifest demons that you have to keep on fighting. He might cheat on you. There's just so many things that are issuesome with marrying an unbeliever. But that's your war to fight, and you will fight it, and you will enter into heaven very exhausted as a either battered wife or just a really tired wife. But your child will inevitably grow up in the world, highly unlikely to take mother's faith. That is clear. Statistically, kids are more likely to convert to Christ if their dad is saved, and so the mom. But when the mom is the only one born again, the kids will go to church initially, but as soon as they break away from home at the age of 18, go to college, varsity, whatever, they will stop doing church. But when their dads are leaders, the kids will likely linger with the faith into varsity. That is the headship that God gave. So as women, you are risking your child's redemption. And what's worse is that if your if your boyfriend, baby, if you fornicate, for crying out loud, as a Christian, if you fornicate because you just want a baby, or you decide to dishonor God by, I don't know, sperm donor, getting one tired of, know and understand that you don't know what you're bringing into your body. On that day, you are inviting not only man's generational curses, you might have fought yours off, but you are bringing this man's generational curses into the baby. That's stage 1 possession of every human being that is born here on earth. And then there's like a second stage where it's the entities around that ecosystem that will then also come into kid because of your compromise as a Christian. You are to be beaten with greater stripes. The ramifications for your actions are loftier, given that you were supposed to know better. You did not protect this kid. It's like you just give Satan permissions to your baby, and so the kid will come out like a freaking robot, a bionic beast, some menacing combination that's going to be very difficult to deliver. Next part.